So you might be wondering, why are we doing a Traverse review on an off-road channel? But it's the Z71. So we've seen a complete just resurgence of the off-road ready vehicle with, you know, everything from the Trail Boss and the ZR2, and then from the Ram side, the Rebel, and of course the RHO, the TRX. But Ford has the Tremor and the Raptor, and the best-selling Tahoe is the Z71. So I think it's a mixture of style, but also capability. So here in Oklahoma, a couple times a year, we get ice, we get snow, we get the moments where four-wheel drive is absolutely necessary. And the Z71 and the Traverse has been no different than the Tahoe. It's been the most popular trim level. As soon as it arrives, somebody is waiting for it, and it's pretty awesome. So just wanted to kind of tell you a little bit about it, and maybe take it for a drive. This is my first impression with the Z71. So excited to take it for a spin. Come on. So what's really cool for 2025 is Chevy made a lot of the safety features standard in several of the Traverse packages, including the Z71. And they really brought a lot of functionality and safety features to market, MSRP of $51,200. So really for everything you're getting in the Z71, the price point is very, very competitive with the segment. So a lot of my experience the last few years has been at our Jeep store. So I've spent a lot of time in Wagoneer, Grand Cherokee L, but it's gonna be a good comparison for just cargo volume, and I'm gonna sit in all the seats like we did with the Wagoneer. But really behind the third row seat in this new Traverse, it's roomier than it used to be. And it's actually just as roomy, if not a little bit more roomy than the Grand Cherokee L. Third row seats, pretty easy to fold, 60/40 bench, 3 seat belts back here. So that is one difference compared to the Grand Cherokee L. You don't get a third seat belt in the Grand Cherokee L. So true 7-passenger seating. And one thing I just noticed that didn't used to be a thing with GM SUVs, but you've seen me talk about this with Wagoneer. So traditionally, third row seat passengers were climbing through the tunnel, or, you know, tumbling and folding the seats to get in. This was new for the 2025 Traverse. So very familiar. We've talked about this with Wagoneer, but same way the seat folds to have access to the third row. And now, obviously, this is a mid-size SUV, not a full-size SUV. So a guy my size would not be as comfortable in the back seat as I would be in the Wagoneer or the Tahoe. But definitely still possible. But for children, fantastic. And the ability to have a third seat belt's pretty cool. Second row space, and I've already got this seat set for me, so perfectly comfortable. 2 USB-C ports, a 110 volt outlet here, rear air controls. Also USB-C ports in the third row to the side of both of those seats. I'm gonna hop in and let's go for a drive. So one of the first things I noticed when I hopped in is this sweeping screen. It's a 17.7 inch touchscreen. And this screen design has now been carried through most of Chevrolet's product lineup. So we saw it for the first time in Blazer EV, and then they brought it to market in the Silverado, and now the Tahoe, the Suburban, of course, and then now it's here in the Traverse. And it's paired with an 11-inch wide driver's information center. So if you look right in front of me, I have a full nav screen in front of the driver's seat. And this is completely customizable, and there's different menus we can scroll through. But it's a kind of a different setup. So you can get this in the Wagoneer as well. And some of the upper trim levels have nav actually here in the screen. But for a $51,000 vehicle, that's pretty cool to have that straight in the driver's information center. Chevrolet does something pretty cool for families. The seatbelt indicator will show you who's buckled and who's not buckled. So when somebody's in the back seat, those will turn green check marks when they buckle their seatbelts. And it'll actually beep at you if, and I know this because my wife was driving a Suburban, and if a kid decides to change seats, or if they just tried to switch seats, and just kids are kids, and at least our kids are crazy like that, but it'll actually beep at you if somebody unbuckles their seatbelt, which is pretty cool to know as a parent. Heated steering wheel. It's got some different drive modes, so I haven't messed with this yet, but tow haul mode, off-road mode. Some of these are specific to Z71. I've also got... Oh, okay, so the all-wheel drive is selectable. So that's really cool. So there's an all-wheel drive button over here that actually engages my full-wheel drive. So previously with Traverse, if you chose an all-wheel drive model, it was just all-time all-wheel drive. But this is selectable, so it's letting me turn into a front-wheel drive vehicle, and then what actually engages is the rear wheels when I hit that button. So that's, from a fuel economy standpoint, that's huge. I actually have never seen... I've never seen a vehicle be able to go from front-wheel drive to all-wheel drive with a switch. That's very cool.
Would that normally just been like a rear-wheel drive?
It would usually be rear-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, but to be able to go two-wheel drive to all-wheel drive is actually really neat. So, in a state like Oklahoma, where we get weather a few times a year, or let's say, you know, this is the family vehicle, so this is what you're going to travel in. So... you know, you're going to take a trip for us to Colorado, you know, depending on the part of the country you're in. But being able to spend 90% of your time in front-wheel drive is actually awesome. From a fuel economy standpoint, is going to make quite a bit of difference. So everything with this new screen from Chevrolet, it's got a lot of connection with Google's operating system. It has Apple CarPlay, it has Android Auto, which is how I prefer regardless of what I'm driving. I like Apple CarPlay. But then it also has a Google Assistant and Google Play Store. So everything's powered by Google. I think there's a subscription that you can enroll through Chevrolet and be able to, you know, have access to a lot of other Google apps within this radio. But if you're like me, I've had an iPhone since the day they came out. And I just log in and use CarPlay for just about everything.
This car feels really planted. Not a lot of body roll or anything.
I like the layout that they've carried through. This interior design kind of started with the previous generation Blazer, and then they improved upon it with the Blazer EV, and now they're carrying it into like the Tahoe and the Traverse, and I like it.
How's it from a comfort standpoint in the front seat?
Oh yeah, I'm perfectly fine. Comfortable. Tilt and telescopic steering column, I moved that when we got it in a second ago. So that's, you know, pretty common on a lot of SUVs now, but not all of them have it, so it's worth talking about because it definitely makes a difference in getting in a comfortable driving position.
And they previously you could get a high country.
So yeah, trim level differences. The previous generation Traverse, you could get an LS, an LT, and I think there was a 2LT, and then a Premier, and then a High Country. And this generation, you can also do a High Country. We can actually add that to this video, maybe just some shots of the interior and exterior. So High Country still top of the line. The Z71 was new. So Z71 has content similar to like the 2LT and the Premier. The High Country is going to be a little nicer on the interior, sunroof, stuff like that. But the Z71 is just the new appearance package for the exterior, which has what's made it so popular is the new look on the outside. And if you think all the way back, so Traverse came out in 2009, and that was really one of the first departure from the minivan, you know. So the large SUV already existed. So of course Tahoe and Yukon, Escalade was a thing. You know, they were on, you know, obviously Tahoe and Suburban have been around forever, but you know, Escalade was on its second generation, I think, at that point, and the Chevrolet brought the Traverse in 2009, and it was kind of a game changer because it was a mid-size SUV, able to carry the whole family, but you set up higher. They were kind of the first entrant into this segment with third row seat that wasn't a minivan. A lot of other manufacturers were kind of in their prime with their minivans, and Chevrolet departed from that. And of course, from that came the GMC Acadia, the Buick Enclave, you know, all of them effectively share a platform. But I think this is the third or fourth generation of Traverse since then. And they've done a really good job, specifically with this generation, of departing a little bit from the style cues of the previous generation, and they really made this body style a lot sportier. It looks like a baby Tahoe. I think that's the biggest change that I notice when I see, and we're pulling back into the store, but a line of Traverses, is they look like little Tahoes. And I think from a style standpoint, that's going to be pretty cool, and then kind of make you pull up, you know, to a ball game or anything like this with your family. A lot of people are like, what is that? Because it doesn't look like just the standard SUV like the previous generation Traverse did. Look at the backup camera. That's new. Full surround sound. That's very cool, and it's selectable. Cool. And I think it should have a front cam as well for parking. I'll flip that in a second. Yep. Front cam. That's very cool. So you can turn guidelines on and off. Awesome. Definitely an improvement over previous setup. I didn't mess with this. It's got paddle shifters, so that must just be selectable shifts. And then it's got for audio controls, radio station controls back here. Adaptive cruise control. Let's see what this button does. Low mode on. I like a low, oh yeah. So single button puts me in low gear. I'm assuming this is for like trailering, or that may be, so it has hill descent control. So again, Z71, this may be more of like either an off-road setting, or if you are towing, just if you need a lower gear. That's cool. That's just a one button press. Okay, well, my name is Jared Glover, and we're sitting at Jim Glover Chevrolet, and this was our kind of first drive impression with the 2025 Traverse Z71, and I love it. I think it's a great fit for a lot of families. It would work perfect for my family, and check it out. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or anybody here at Jim Glover Chevrolet. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.